Welcome, believers. Welcome, conspiracy theorists alike. Welcome to the Tim Four Hat Fan Club, where we talk about all the wonderfully weird stuff that goes on in the world, and there is loads. Right, on today's programme, I want to talk about the Dropa stones. Now, I've looked into the Dropa stones. Do they or do they not exist? Okay, I will tell you the story. There are plenty of evidence to suggest that this is just a hoax. But we also know that any government will hoax it for you. So look, stay tuned and I will tell you all about it. Okay, now the Dropa stones are said to be a set of 716 circular stone discs that date back 12,000 years with tiny little markings on each disc. Each disc is said to measure up to about a foot in diameter and carry two grooves originating from a hole in the centre, and it forms a double spiral. Okay, now the discovery of the Mysteria discs apparently took place in 1938 in the mountains of Biancurulula on the border between China and Tibet. Now, this is where a Chinese professor, Chi Fu Ta, detected regular aligned rows of graves. Okay, so he come across them first. The skeletons measured only around 4 foot in height and had skulls which were large and overdeveloped. Okay, so that's the first thing he found in these caves, a row of graves, tiny with big heads. In the cave, Chi Fu Ta and his team found interesting rock art which depicted figures with round helmets. Now, engraved in the rock were also the sun, the moon, the earth, the stars, and they were all connected by groups of pea sized dots. What would suggest whoever lived in the cave at the time had a basic graph of astronomy. Now, further inside the cave, the team found a collection of stone discs. Now, most of them were half buried in the floor of the cave. So, he found these discs, okay, and for the next 2 decades, it is believed that the discs were labelled and stored at a Beijing university before being given to some Wei for study in 1958. Some Wei allegedly managed to decipher the markings after 4 years of study, which he claimed told the story of a spacecraft that crash landed in the area of the cave and the ship contained the Dropa people. Okay, so that's what the disc is suggesting, right? That a spacecraft crashed in the area and the survivors of the crash, because that obviously they couldn't get the ship going again, settled in the area. Now, some Umwi said to have published these findings in 1962 in a professional journal and was subsequently ridiculed and met with disbelief. Now, we know that happens. The first thing the scientific community do is attack if they don't like what you found. Sadly, shortly afterwards, he is said to have gone in self imposed exile, where he died not long after completing the manuscript of his work. Now, we have got to forward ourselves to 1968, where the Dropa stones apparently came to the attention of a Mr. Satso, a Russian scientist who republished the findings of some Umwi and conducted his own tests. Now, his own tests revealed some very peculiar properties. Physically, the granite stones, or the Dropa disc, contained high concentrations of cobalt and other metals. Now, cobalt is a very hard stone, and it would have been very difficult for the primitive people to carve the letterings, especially with such minute characters. Okay, now, nothing more was said about them until 1974, when a Mr. Wegener, an Australian engineer, visited the Bamboo Museum in Xianshan's province, where he was able to see two of the Dropa stones. It is said that when he inquired about the discs, the manager didn't provide him with any information, but did allow him to photograph them. But, as Wegener would say, and he was very disappointed that when he did take the photograph, the flash hid the markings. Okay, so the two photographs he took, you can see no markings on them. Now, we fast forward to 1994, where a scientist called Hartwig Horstef and his colleague Peter Krasser are said to have visited China and the Bamboo Museum in Xi'an in 1994, where they were told that the directors superiors, I don't know who they are, part of the Chinese government, had ordered the dish destroyed and that officially they do not recognise their existence. Now, were they destroyed or were they taken? You know, did the Chinese government take the discs, tell the museum, right, you are not to talk of this, and put them somewhere else? Horstef found out that the Chinese government did not have any official record of a tribe called the Dropa, neither in the local area or whatsoever in China. Now, at the time of the discovery, back in 1938, the cave area was still inhabited by two tribes. They were known as the Hams and the Droppers. Anthropologists have apparently been unable to categorise either tribe into any other known race. So, they are neither Chinese, Mongol, nor Tibetan. These tribes are yellow-skinned with thin body and disproportionately large heads, corresponding to the skeletal remains found in the caves in 1938. They have sparse hair on their bodies, have large eyes, and their height measures between 3'6" and 4'7", with an average height of 4'2". So they don't seem to be, shall we say, normal human size, do they? Now, like I say, these Dropa stones are immersed in controversy, with many claiming that it's nothing more than a hoax. Among the arguments against the existence are the following, and we do need to cover this. Okay, it has been claimed that Sun Wei, that bloke in 1958 who deciphered the markings, is not a real Chinese name. There is no mention of him in China outside of his connection to the Dropa stones. But, according to Dropa enthusiast Horstef, Sun Wei is a former Japanese name, but adapted to the Chinese language. So is it a Chinese name or not, you know? The vast majority of names and sources that are connected to the Dropa stones cannot be found, okay? Either the Soviet or the Chinese scholars who were involved in the Dropa stones cannot be found. Now, all right, now imagine if the Chinese government went to their museums and said, look, we're going to take these. You are not allowed to talk about it. Do you think they'd get hold of the Chinese scholars as well and say, look, you cannot talk about this? And same as the Russians, you know. I mean, if the Chinese government and the Russian government, you know, got together on this one and said, look, we can't have this coming out, would they silence them? Not not the permanently silence them way, but approach them and say, look, you cannot talk about this. I think that probably is the case, to be honest. So, and there's another one, right? There is a tribe out there called the Dropa. They're nomadic herders who inhabit most of the northern Tibetan plateau, but they are of regular height. So that's another argument against the Dropa stones. But that doesn't mean they are the tribe that they are referring to. You know, the small tribe? It doesn't mean that those ones are the ones they're referring to. The only photo of the stone discs do not show any evidence of the markings. It seems unlikely as well that this is another sound argument against the Dropa stones. It seems unlikely that a scholar would be able to decipher those markings in a short space of 4 years. Bearing in mind it's not an English language, it's an alien language. You'd have to have something to start from, and it normally takes linguistics and teams of people to decipher Inca, Mayan language. You know, when they found those stones, it took them a long time to decipher it. To do that in 4 years seems unlikely. But look, he could have done it. Also, against the Dropa stones, is the stone discs were said to have been stored in various museums across China. However, none of these museums have any record or traces of the Dropa stone ever being there. But again, that could easily be explained by the Chinese government removing them. So, what do you think of the Dropa stones? What do you think? I mean, look into it. It's a very difficult one because there is a lot against it and there is a lot for it. Now, the 1938 explorer who found that cave, he's the only one who can really tell you the truth, can't he? Really. So, what do you think? The Dropa stones, are they evidence of extraterrestrial beings crashing on Earth and living here and making a tribe? Are they evidence? Are they evidence of ET visits? Or are they just a massive hoax? You know, a bit of fun for someone. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Have a look into it and tell me what you think. Drop me a line. Look, this is the Tinfoil Hat Fan Club. Please check out my other videos and like and subscribe. That would be fantastic. And I will catch you on the next one.